Marcus had been in Maplewood for just over a month when he began to notice the pattern. At first, he thought it was only in his imagination. The small pauses in greetings, the way smiles looked rehearsed, the subtle tension that seemed to hang in the air whenever he appeared. But soon the signs grew too sharp to ignore. Neighbors no longer greeted him with polite nods. Some crossed the street when they saw him coming. Others simply stared, waiting for him to make a mistake that would prove the quiet rumors true. It was subtle, but it was suffocating. He felt it during his morning jogs, when curtains shifted and whispers ended the moment he passed. He felt it when people turned away, their silence louder than any insult. Every look carried the same silent message. You don't belong here. Inside his home, Marcus tried to hold on to normalcy. He unpacked his boxes slowly, hanging framed photos of his family. His favorite was a worn picture of his mother in her nurse's uniform, smiling even after long double shifts. She had raised him alone, carrying the weight of 2 lives on her shoulders. She used to tell him, "You'll find a place where you can rest, Marcus. Somewhere that feels safe." At night, Marcus whispered to the photo, promising he would not give up. But sometimes, staring into the darkness, he wondered if Maplewood would ever allow him to breathe. Across the street, Karen was feeding the flames. At HOA meetings, she spoke with careful tones, never accusing directly but always planting suspicion. "We have to be vigilant," she would say. "We've all seen neighborhoods decline before. It always starts small. We can't afford to be careless." Neighbors nodded, comforted by her conviction. Karen thrived on that power. Beneath her polished words, however, lived loneliness, bitterness, and the hollow echo of a life slipping out of her control. Her husband had left. Her relationship with Andrew, her only son, was strained. Control over Marcus, over who belonged in Maplewood, became her way of taking back what she had lost. Andrew noticed the change in his mother more than anyone. She spoke about Marcus constantly, twisting harmless actions into threats. "Did you see how late he was outside last night? Who stays on their porch at midnight? He parks his truck on the street sometimes. That's against regulations." "He's too quiet, Andrew. People like that always hide something." At first, Andrew tried to argue. "Mom, he's just living his life. You don't even know him." But Karen's sharp glares silenced him. Exhausted from battles he could never win, he stopped resisting. Yet doubt gnawed at him. He remembered when his bike chain had slipped and Marcus, without a word, crouched down and fixed it. The man had smiled gently, patted his shoulder, and walked away. Nothing about him felt dangerous. Still, his mother's words repeated every night, until Andrew's mind became a battlefield of confusion. Marcus, weary but determined, tried one last time to reach out. On a quiet Sunday, he baked cornbread from his mother's recipe. Wrapping the slices carefully, he carried them across the street to Karen's house. When she opened the door, he offered them with a hopeful smile. "I thought you and your son might like this. My mom used to make it. She said it tastes like home." Karen's eyes flickered, her smile stiff and cold. "That's very kind," she said, her voice strained. She took the plate, then shut the door quickly. Later that night, Andrew saw the cornbread untouched on the counter. By morning, it was gone, dumped into the trash. The rejection stung more than Marcus had expected. That evening, he sat on his porch as the sun dipped low, shadows stretching across the street. He thought of all the times in his life he had been told to leave, to step aside, to accept that some places weren't meant for him. But this was his home. He had worked for it, earned it, and he would not let whispers push him away. Still, he felt the weight of Karen's eyes behind her curtain, watching, waiting. Then the rumors grew louder. A neighbor claimed Marcus had been lurking near their yard. Though he had only been jogging, someone else whispered about loud music, though he hadn't even been home that night. Stories piled up, bending lies into something that felt like truth. And one night, the flashing red and blue of police cars filled the street. Marcus opened his door to find 2 officers asking about suspicious activity. Calmly, he showed them his spotless living room, his quiet backyard. They left without issue, one officer even nodding sympathetically. But the damage was already done. The neighbors had seen the lights. The whispers became certainty. Karen smiled in the dark. Andrew saw it all from his window. He saw his mother's satisfaction when Marcus wasn't taken away, only questioned. For the first time, Andrew's unease turned into shame. Weeks passed, and the invisible wall between Marcus and Maplewood grew taller. At block parties, his invitations never came. When the ice cream truck rolled down the street, parents guided their children away from his sidewalk. It wasn't loud hatred, no slurs, no vandalism. It was quieter, sharper, death by 1,000 cuts. Karen's pride swelled with every nod of agreement, every whispered word of support. She reported trivial violations to the HOA. His grass was half an inch too long. The trash can stayed too long on the curb. Each complaint was petty, but together they built a cage around Marcus. The HOA, unwilling to appear biased, treated every word seriously. Marcus read their polite warnings in silence, the frustration hidden but heavy in his eyes. One evening, Andrew overheard his mother on the phone. "It's only a matter of time before something happens," she said, her tone sharp. "He doesn't belong here. We have to protect Maplewood." When she hung up, Andrew whispered, "Mom, don't you think you're going too far?" Karen's eyes flashed. "Too far? Andrew, I'm protecting you, protecting our home. One day you'll understand." Andrew wanted to scream, to tell her she was wrong, but the coldness in her face froze his words. That night, unable to sleep, Andrew crossed the street quietly. Marcus sat on his porch under the glow of a lamp, reading. He looked up as Andrew approached. "Evening," Marcus said gently. Andrew hesitated, then blurted, "I'm sorry. For how everyone's been treating you. For my mom." Marcus studied him before closing his book. "That's not your burden. You're not responsible for other people's choices." Andrew sat down, staring at the ground. "She says she's protecting me, but it doesn't feel like protection. It feels like she's angry at the world and you just ended up across the street." Marcus's voice was calm, but firm. Sometimes fear disguises itself as protection. But it's still fear. Don't let it live inside you. The two sat in silence before Andrew asked about his life. Marcus told him about his mother, her endless work, her sacrifices, and how he had become a nurse to honor her strength. Andrew listened, respect growing with every word. For the first time, he saw Marcus for who he really was. Not a threat, but a man who only wanted to live with dignity. But Karen wasn't done. The next week, she gathered a few trusted neighbors in her living room. Her voice carried urgency as she said, "We can't wait until it's too late. Prevention is better than regret. Do we want police here again and again? Do we want Maplewood to become unsafe?